If you haven't been living under a rock the last couple of months, then you probably heard about the game known as Clash Royale. Me and a lot of other people would probably say that 2017 was the peak of Clash Royale. And it seemed like it would stay that way for a while until the later parts of spring and the entirety of summer 2025. Now you may be wondering, how did Clash Royale hit yet another peak? Well, we can sum it down to two different reasons. Summer just started and everyone was looking for a fun game to play, and it would also be a good way to spend some free time. Another reason why is because of the streamer named Jinxie. It wasn't entirely because of him, but I would say that he definitely started this cycle. Because of his streams that would have tens of thousands of viewers watching him daily, people would make a lot of videos on Clash Royale on apps such as TikTok, which would also greatly increase the number of people who would want to play the game. According to ActivePlayers.io, the estimated monthly player base is anywhere from 45 million to 70 million. I wouldn't ever say that Clash Royale ever truly died off, considering that there was still a very active fan base. It was just simply people leaving because they decided that it was time to quit and the game was considered boring to them after a while. In September of 2024, the player count was around 12.1 million, which is amazing for a mobile game. In October, the player count jumped up to almost 14 million. In December, the player count would be at 12 million, which is a small fall off since October. In February of 2025, the player count quickly started rising to almost 13 million. Now in March, the game was gaining popularity and hit a peak of an estimated 15.6 million. In April, the game had around 17 million players. In May, the game gained almost 7 million players and was at 23.7 million players. During the start of summer in June, the game had around 35 million players, which is basically triple the player base of September. Maintaining a peak like this is very hard to actually do, but Clash Royale, to no one's surprise, had around 50 million players in July. Now currently in August, the game has around 60 million players, but some sources say it could have up to 70 million. This rise of Clash Royale during the summer is pretty unexpected when you consider the fact that most mobile games started dying off in summer, because everyone only played these games during school. Now let's quickly talk about the other Supercell game known as Brawl Stars. It should not come off as a surprise that the Brawl Stars monthly player count is rapidly declining. It's estimated that Brawl Stars is currently at around 2.5 million active players. Well, 2.5 million is definitely a lot, but when you compare it to a game like Clash Royale, if you just multiply the number of Brawl Stars monthly player base by 24, then you would get the monthly player count of Clash Royale. This just means that you would have to get 24 groups of the current Brawl Stars monthly player base just to match Clash Royale. Now, you may have seen some videos titled something like "What Happened to Brawl Stars?" or "The Decline of Brawl Stars." Just a year ago in September, the player count was at around 6.2 million. In 2020, Brawl Stars was the second highest Supercell game of the year in terms of revenue, and it was just behind Clash of Clans. It was once again top 2 in 2021. It was top 3 in 2022 behind Clash of Clans and Clash Royale. It was 4th place in 2023 behind Clash of Clans, Clash Royale, and surprisingly Heyday. You were someone who played Brawl Stars in 2024, you knew how big this year actually was for the game and for the community as a whole. In 2024, Brawl Stars made almost 700 million, which is more than double the revenue it brought in 2023. Just to show you how crazy this year was for Brawl Stars, the second highest game, which was Clash of Clans, didn't even make 400 million. Brawl Stars is currently leading the race in 2025 with an estimated 200 million, which is nowhere close to his peak in 2024, but is still very impressive. Now, since I mentioned 2024, which was supposedly the prime of Brawl Stars in terms of revenue and player count, I just want to talk about what actually made this year that prosperous for the game as a whole. Now let's start off with December of 2023, which was what I consider to be the starting point. And this starting point would basically set up the success of how 2024 would go as a whole. Now, in terms of brawlers, everyone got Miko during the Brawl Days event, which would then start the Miko Apocalypse. On December 9th of 2023, they would release the last Brawl Talk of that year. They talked about 3 new brawlers. I already mentioned Miko, but there was Kit, who was a new legendary, and we also got Larry and Laurie, who was an epic thrower. This Brawl Days event would give us free stuff such as resources and skins. Logging in daily to receive these awards was a very fun aspect and fit in well with the whole Christmas theme. We also had brawlers like Leon, Dynamite, Miko, Bang, Crow, and Edgar receive a hypercharge. The long-awaited game mode 5v5 would also be released. 5 vs 5 would release with game modes such as Gem Grab, Wipeout, and Brawl Ball. Having these normal game modes but in a 5 vs 5 aspect was an exciting new feature that everyone was excited for. Brawl Talks were always one of the most exciting things to wait for as a player, and you can definitely see this just by looking at all the views of the Brawl Talks released in 2024. The first Brawl Talk of the year had 23 million views. The second had 32 million. The third had 47 million, which is a record. The fourth had 27 million. The fifth had 18 million, and the final one had 17 million. The total number of views between all of these Brawl Talks would be around 164 million, and the average would be close to 28 million. Now, just imagine how many people 28 million actually is. This is more than the population of countries such as Australia, Netherlands, Belgium, Portugal, North Korea, and many more. Now, let's actually get into the year 2024 and how important it was for Brawl Stars as a whole. The first Brawl Talk that was released this year featured a new sharpshooter brawler known as Angela who could also hover over water. And we also had an assassin with musical notes around her, and her name was Melody. There would be 6 new hypercharges for brawlers like Cordelius, El Primo, Sprout, BB, Belle, and Buzz. There were also many cool skins such as the Ragnarok skins and the new Mecha skins. They would also release a pretty controversial new game mode which was ranked. To start off the year, this was a pretty decent Brawl Talk with all of these new features. However, the next Brawl Talk would also be one of the most impactful ones we've seen. This Brawl Talk would mention a collab of Godzilla. We would also get a new mythic brawler by the name of Lily, new hypercharges, eggs that we could open for progression, and a new legendary brawler named Draco. One unfortunate downside of this event would be the mutations and how stupidly broken they were. You would have brawlers like Rico and Ruff shooting you across the whole map and somehow killing you. There were also some complaints about the eggs, which is fair considering how luck-based it was to get a decent drop at best. Honestly, I enjoyed the City Smash game mode just because of how fun becoming Godzilla was. But I think the experience would be a lot better if there was no mutations involved, or at least broken mutations. This collab did have some positives though, such as bringing in a lot of new players who wanted to try out this collab game mode. On a plus side, the skins were also amazing. We would also get the introduction of hypercharges for new brawlers like Brock, Sandy, Nita, Max, Tick, and Jean. Now let's get into the next Brawl Talk, which would be the most watched Brawl Talk ever made. They would bring back Mega Boxes, which would make all the OG players happy. We would also get the addition of a new brawler named Barry, who was a support and an epic. We also had 7 new hypercharges for brawlers like Barley, Frank, Angelo, Piper, Ems, Rico, and Gale. We also had 1 more brawler named Clancy, who was a mythic damage dealer with the unique concept of having 3 different levels. It seemed like Brawl Stars was on a streak of Brawl Talks, which would greatly increase the player count, and this was definitely proven by the next collab they did, which was a SpongeBob collab. During this time, Brawl Stars would have a whole season dedicated to this collab, and it featured new skins, new powers, and new game modes. You could also get Krusty Cash daily, which you could use to spend on the daily offers in the shop. We also had the additions of Mo, who was a mythic brawler with a super that could quickly take out enemies. And we also had another legendary brawler who was a fan favorite, and his name was Kenji. He was a fan favorite because of his cool design and how cool his abilities were. Now that new hypercharges of this update would be Poco, Mortis, Squeak, Tara, Nani, and Surge. As with a lot of other Brawl Stars events or collabs, half of the community was split between liking it or disliking it. Now the next episode of big Brawl Stars events would be Demons vs Angels. They would replace the star drops with these demonic drops or angelic drops, which would have better resources than normal star drops. There would also be unique powers that you could put on any brawler, and honestly they were a lot better than the powers we have right now for the second Demons vs Angels event. We would also get 2 new hypercharge skins, such as the hypercharge Mortis skin and the hypercharge Edgar skins, and also the variants. We had a new brawler named Juju who was a mythic and had the ability to summon a pet. They would also rework the trophy system and would add this new item called the trophy box. The trophy box that you get at the end of the season depends on how many trophies you push brawlers past 1,000. We also had the addition of a new epic brawler named Shade who could move through walls and also hover over water. Of course, we can't forget about the new hypercharges that always come with the Brawl Talks. We had 8-Bit, Otis, Ruffs, Daryl, Penny, and Stu receive a hypercharge. In my opinion, we also got some of the coolest skins ever in Brawl Stars. We got a skin of Lou that looked exactly like Lou Cartman, and we also had a Macy skin that looked like something from JoJo's. Now let's get into the last Brawl Talk of the year. Now I'm going to be honest and say that this one was definitely the most controversial. Of course, the Brawl Talk itself was very good, but the brawler that came with it would ruin the game for a long time. The free resources that came with the annual Brawler Days event was also pretty nice, especially the presents. We would also hear about the pizza plan and shop and how you could get a lot of offers such as Mythic, Legendary Brawlers, amazing skins, and also a lot of resources. The new brawlers of this update consisted of Meeple, who was an epic brawler, and we would also get to hear about a new brawler who was a mythic named Ollie who could stun enemies and pull them in with his super. Now, the new hyperchargers would include Gray, Janet, Ash, Eve, Barry, and Melody. A lot of people would mark this as the start of the downfall just because of how bad the whole Buzz Lightyear situation was. It seemed like no matter what game mode you played, there would always be multiple Buzz Lightyears just flying on you and instantly killing you. A lot of people expected for this event to be the biggest of the year, but it seemed like the Brawl Stars team definitely messed up when everyone was counting down the days until the event was actually over. 2025 not having any other collab besides the Buzz Lightyear one was pretty bad and was a small step towards the decline of the game. No matter how many people complained about the collabs and events in 2024, it still brought in a lot of people and it was the prime in terms of player count and revenue. Now, why was 2025 so much worse for the game? We had the introduction of a new ultra legendary brawler, which was a new rarity, and it cost $50. You could spend that $50 on so much other meaningful things, and the thought of even adding a new rarity above legendary was just so pointless for a lot of people. We would get talks about having a collab for many months, and we all waited, but we would get our hypes up for nothing. Everyone knew there was going to be a collab coming out, so we were excited. But unfortunately, the collab was leaked early and almost everything that would have been in the Brawl Talk already got leaked. Also, removing Masteries was a very controversial choice as a lot of the player base played specifically just to get Masteries. We all knew that a game couldn't maintain a peak for a while, but we didn't know the game would go on a steep downfall like this. Adding in stuff like new broken brawlers every update and also some stuff that really didn't change the structure of the game. It seemed like a lot of people were only playing because of how much time they actually invested into this game already. A lot of these players would also switch over to Clash Royale. Obviously, Clash Royale isn't much better than Brawl Stars in terms of updates. Clash Royale has released some pretty bad updates in the past couple of months. A lot of people came back to the game because of people like Jinxie or Ken, or just because of something they saw on Instagram or TikTok. A lot of people who actually came back to the game were once people who religiously played this game back then. Clash Royale is a game where you can always strive to be better than the person you're facing and climb up the global rankings. But for Brawl Stars, once you get a brawler to 1k trophies, there's really no point in pushing past that. Now, if you did want to go for prestige, you would always have to play with other people. If you tried getting a prestige by yourself, it would be impossible playing with randoms only in 3v3 game modes. So you would have to resort to solo showdown. Now, the bad thing about playing showdown with a high amount of trophies such as 2,000 means that you'll get anywhere from 1 to 6 trophies if you got first, and if you got last place, you would lose around 80 trophies. That's basically multiple hours of progress lost right there. And you also have to consider the fact that you have a high chance of losing even more games and you would then lose all your trophies. It didn't really matter if Clash Royale did things like remove chests and the season shop. Clash Royale had so much influence on social media that developers could drop the worst updates ever and the player base would still increase. The same cannot be said for Brawl Stars since it seemed like any bad update would just kill off a majority of the fan base. I guess you could portray this difference based on the simple game mechanics of both games. Clash Royale is definitely more addicting and less stale than the simple mechanics of Brawl Stars. When I played Clash Royale in high school, I would 1v1 my friends a lot. I think this aspect between both games is done so much better between Clash. 1v1ing someone in Brawl Stars is not as fun considering that the only real 1v1 map is a bounty map with all of the open space. It doesn't really allow for two people to have that much fun and it gets boring pretty quick. Now for Clash, you could try out so many new decks in a basic 1v1, or you could play game modes such as Double Elixir, Triple Elixir, Sudden Death, Mirror, Random Deck, Infinite Elixir, Draft, Touchdown, and many more. 1v1ing someone in Clash Royale versus 1v1ing someone in Brawl Stars just feels much more exciting and more strategical. Content creators who play and make videos about the game is also another reason for the success of Clash Royale. The competitive scene in Clash Royale is also very well known, and a lot of people tune in to watch the tournaments. Now, for Brawl Stars, it seems like there's no content to actually talk about, and even some of the biggest creators are now posting more videos about Clash Royale. Don't get it twisted though, both of these games have dropped very bad updates between the both of them, but it all just comes down to players who once used to play Clash Royale and now they're coming back to it after years and they're actually having fun now. Brawl Stars has also been creating new events that are essentially the same as the old ones. One example is the current Demons vs. Angels Part 2 event going on right now. A lot of people knew this was old content and would be the same, but they were still happy of having a new event and something to do. Unfortunately, everyone wasn't ready for how broken some of the new powers would be. One example is a demon power that lets basic attacks shoot through walls. This means that brawlers like Edgar are able to kill you even if you're behind a wall. And the range of this ability is also comparable to that of a sniper, which is just very stupid. It seems like the Subway Surfers Club has a lot of new good features that could potentially save this game. Also, with school starting back, there's a good chance that the player count has a good chance to rise. Brawl Stars is able to get the attention of new players, but one thing it struggles to do is actually keep this attention for a while. And the same can also be said for keeping the OG players still playing the game. If this collab between Subway Surfers isn't good enough to bring back the game to a player count roughly above 5 million, then it's also likely that the game will eventually die off month by month. Meanwhile, Clash Royale is continuing to grow its player base each coming day. There's also the whole stigma of Brawl Stars being a game primarily made for kids, which I guess is true to some extent. But majority of the pro scene is also above the age of 18. People have been saying how Brawl Stars needs a creator like Jinxie to revive the game. But in my opinion, I think Brawl Stars can only revive itself through their own updates, which in turn allows for more content creators to actually want to try out the game, which would then increase the audience. My final point is that both games are addicting to some degree, but the addiction of Clash Royale can last so much longer than the current version of Brawl Stars. In my opinion, I think the dev team of Brawl Stars truly cares about its game more than the devs of Clash Royale do. Hopefully the next Brawl Stars update will bring back the game to its former glory. And it would also be very nice for Clash Royale to keep increasing to its already massive player count. Thank you for watching this video, and share and subscribe if you liked it.